Hello, fourth year students. Welcome to your English phonology course. And today we're going to start with the first lecture. And here is the book, Speak Naturally, Your Guide to Easy English Pronunciation. Let me show you the content of the book. The book falls into 8 chapters. The first chapter introduces you to the miraculous human voice, the incredible instrument we all play. And this is what we're going to study today. Chapter 2 discuss briefly English vowels and consonants with more emphasis on practice. Chapter 3, you're going to have a quick look at word stress in English and its relation to morphology and rhythm and melody and so on. Chapter 4, we're gonna study the English rhythm, the beat and tempo of speech, and how to divide speech into feet or rhythmic units, and how to beat the English rhythm the way its native speakers do. Chapter 5 tackles assimilation, elision, linking, and all these are phonological phenomena which will help us speak more comfortably, smoothly, naturally, and really conveniently. Chapter 6 studied the melody of speech, and this has to do with intonation, how to make intonation the right way, how to speak with some melodies and in an emotional way and in a musical way and in the right tone and so on. Also, we have a look at chapter 7, which discusses language globalization and the rise of multicultural English. In this chapter, I want to shed some light on the current linguistic changes that the English language in the UK and everywhere in the world is undergoing, and we're gonna talk about what should be done on the part of the English non-native speaker in order to cope with all these changes. Finally, we have the last chapter, chapter 8, and it has to do with the trendiest English speaking styles. I want to show you what is the latest in speaking styles, and this will help you a lot, because when you listen to native English speaking, you will be you encounter by the English speaking styles which are so trendy and so fashionable. So I want you to be aware of all these things in order to be listening with more comfort and with more understanding, and also to bridge the gap between bookish English and real English. So I want you to go away from your comfort zone with bookish English and to get through into real English. And the book finally ends with an appendix which includes a number of recorded exercises, and the source is Accurate English, and this is the what we want to say about the content in a nutshell in passing. Okay. And now also this is a list of the videos and links of the course lectures on my YouTube channel, Dr. Layla Galban. You can check them, and I think that they're gonna help you a great deal. Okay, here we go. Let's start with chapter 1, the incredible instrument we all play. What is this? Of course, it's our voice, the human voice. It's miraculous, really. It's miraculous, and it affects our life to a large extent. And let's look at some quotes by a number of philosophers and renowned people. For example, Richard Strauss, the renowned German composer, he says that the human voice is the most beautiful instrument of all, but the most difficult to play. Here in our neck there is the factory voice, which enables us to speak many many tones, and we speak ourselves and express ourselves in order to be more expressive and to communicate better with people. uh, Also, we have Julian Treasure, who is a sound and communication expert and top-rated international speaker. He said that the human voice, which is the most powerful sound in the world, probably it is the only one that can start a word, okay, or say I love you. The human voice is, it has a number uh, of tones and the number of forms which can function differently in all our life situations. When we are angry, when we are happy, when we want to, certain people who want to make peace, when all we'll find that this instrument, which is our voice, obeys us and helps us express the meanings that we want to convey, the messages that we want to convey. Okay. Also, we have another quote by a Japanese philosopher, Ikeda, who says that our voice resonates with life, because this is so it can touch the lives of others. The caring, the compassion imbued in our voice finds passage to the listener's soul. We can express all these warm feelings and this strike a chord in the hearts of the people who are listening to you. Imagine what happens to us when people sing, for example, and when you listen to your favorite singer, and when you listen to your favorite actor, and when you listen to your favorite, or your friend and your father, and people really make miracles by using their voice the right way. And this is why it's important to know how to play this wonderful instrument, which is our voice. Okay, the human voice summons something profound from deep within and can even compel a person into action. Okay, well, let's end this part, which includes a number of quotes, with what Socrates, the great philosopher, says. He said, "Speak so that I may see you." So when you look at people, but you don't see them, but once they speak, you connect them. You start to connect to them, and they connect to you. Otherwise, no one will be connecting to others. So speaking and using our voice helps us connect to people and be more able to communicate and more able to link to them and engage in communication in general. تمام. What do we what does our speech or our voice tell about us? It tells a lot. It tells a lot about our gender, our educational and social background, our personal traits, our psychological states, emotional intelligence, and so many things. Okay. The forms of, or what are the things that human voice can make? It can sing opera, for example. Oh, beatboxing. What's beatboxing? It's the imitation of musical instruments, for example, drums, violins, and some people are very talented in making these or in imitating these instruments. So they make voices sounding like drums, sounding like violins, sounding like the voice of a train moving rapidly, and so on. I want you to Google this, and I'm sure that you will be happy and really excited by the miracles and the wonderful things beatboxing and people who are talented in beatboxing can show us. Okay. So our voice can function and make multiple forms of variation in our in voices and in speaking form. People can sing, people can you know make different kinds of voice activities and vocal activities and so on. Okay, how speech is or how our voice goes. We need, for example, or first of all, we need an amount of air and a couple of cords in our neck, vibrating in our larynx, actually vibrating, and when they vibrate, they make pulses in our neck, and this creates a voice. And of course, we need an arsenal of unconsciously cognitive and physiological tests that are done in our brain. And here we go. And of course, our voice is like our fingerprint. Everyone has his or her special or unique voice, one of a kind. No two people speak the same. And even if you, as one person, speak or say something twice, they are never the same. Okay. So here, beatboxing and the folkloric voices and the opera and so on. All these are a range of what a human voice is capable of performing in exceptionally significant way. Okay, we need to know that when we speak, we speak using a number of sounds. These sounds are limited in number, just like the digits from 0 to 9. But we find that these numbers or these digits are capable of producing an endless number of numerals. Also the same way, every language uses a limited number of sounds, which are called roughly كده letters, but these letters are capable of producing an endless number of words, and words are capable of producing an endless number of sentences. We can generate sentences out of words, out of sounds, and so on. The human language is very creative and very productive in this way. How speech is done, you know, it happens in the brain. It starts in the brain and it ends in the brain. This is a quick view at what we call speech chain. And as you see, the speaker thinks of something to say, and then the brain gives orders to the motor nerves to move or to make the vocal muscles or the speech organs work, and to turn the idea that the speaker generated into sound waves, and then sound waves travels through the air to the ears of the listener, and then here the ear and the cochlea turns the sound waves into sensory data, which is sent to the brain to process. So this is the chain. Speech starts in the brain of the speaker and ends in the brain of the listener. So it has a number of stages. Number one, linguistic level, which is also psychological level, and then physiological, when our organs of speech work, and then acoustic, when we study the speech, the physical properties of speech sounds and sound waves. And also then we have also physiological look at this anatomy and the structure of the human ear, and then linguistic or psychological, when the message is sent to the brain of the listener in order to process it and to understand it. As we said, that our brains add to the incoming signal, and this is why two people can listen to the same speech, but everyone understands it differently, and everyone can recall something different from what has been said, simply because our brains are filtering the messages and add to them. And this is the beauty, and this is the incredible thing about the human brain. Okay, so speech chain it has to do with these stages, and also the psychological things that take place in the brains of both the speaker and the Okay, how can we hear our voice? This is also more details about what happens in the ear. Okay, the voice or the speech waves or the sound waves get into this outer ear, and then moves into this canal, and then it hits the drum, and it moves three little bones, the anvil, hammer, and stirrup, and this then turn the sound wave turn into get amplified and turn in the cochlea, and the cochlea change, turn them into sensory data and send them to the brain. Okay, this is the anatomy of the human ear. And in our brain also we have a number of sound called mental sound categories called the phonemes, and phonemes, as we said, are the small sound units, and they represent the alphabet of sounds, just like the letters. So we replace letters by phonemes, as we said before in the previous years. The difference between phonemes can be vowels or consonants, and the difference between vowels and consonants, I've said before that when we pronounce vowels, we say them with the mouth roughly open, and when we pronounce consonants, air is embedded or stopped, either partially or completely. Here is a list of the English vowels and consonants. The 5 long vowels: E, U, O, and A, and the 6 plus 1, 7 English short vowels: E, U, O, A, and schwa, E. And here is E, which is shorter than E and longer than E, and U, which is longer than O and shorter than U. And here is a list of the diphthongs. We have I, A, Oi, Ow, O, E, A, and O. And here are the consonants, 24 English consonants. The first the first ones are the voiceless consonants. Then there are 10. There are 8 here. You can add h or ha. So we have 9, and the rest of the consonant nine voiceless consonants: p, ch, ch, k, f, s, sh, and the rest of the consonants are voiced consonants. They are b, d, j, g, v, the, z, j, m, n, l, r, w, and yeah. Okay. Now let's look at the how speech is made, and look at the organs of speech. Of course, this is old information for you. And look at the vocal folds and how they vibrate, and how they in this form, for example, this position, the vocal folds are away from each other and they produce the voiceless consonants, or they are this is the position where you are at rest and you are not talking, and this is the position where the vocal folds are getting closer to each other, and they can be vibrating by means of air. This pushing them, and this vibration causes the creation of voice. Okay, and then once the voice is made here, it travels through the vocal fold, it travels through the vocal tract, our mouth, and it gets amplified bigger and gets stronger and stronger, and it's shaped by the different positions of the tongue and the lips, the teeth, and other organs of speech in its journey to the outside world. Okay. Why does everyone have a unique voice? Because actually a lot of things. One of them is the voice, is the shape and size of your head. Okay, the shape and size of your body, and also it has to do with the how neat and harmonious are the multiple frequencies الترددات المختلفة of your speech signal or your voice, how they are layered on top of each other. If they are layered neatly and harmoniously, this will give you a pleasant voice. And that's why singers and reciters and so on are people who have this. Their voices are sweet voices. Um, your physique and is determining your voice. زي ما قلنا ان صوتنا بيتأثر بال anatomical structure بتاع our body. And then how for example taller people have thicker اهو زي ما احنا شايفين اهوت ان the larger the size of the larynx the longer the vocal folds and the deeper the voice. يعني كل ما كان the size of the larynx الحنجرة كبيرة والvocal folds are longer كل ما ده بيديني deeper voice صوت كده عميق ورخيم and so on. عشان كده adult males have strong who are or with strong physiques have larger Adam's apples. Okay, as you see here, this is Adam apples in males, and see how it is very prominent and it's very wide, and therefore the voice of men is different from the voice of women. Okay, taller women also have larger larynx and deeper voices as well. So if you find a tall woman, you'll find that she has a wider larynx, larger larynx, and her voice is going to be so deep. Deep يعني it has a low pitch. It's not thin. Like in women in general, they have thin vocal folds, and they have a small larynx. الحنجرة بتاعتهم صغيرة والvocal folds الأحبال الصوتية بتاعتهم are thin, and this is why their voice is high pitched. ليه؟ لأن the thin vocal folds vibrate rapidly, more rapidly than the thick vocal folds of men. When men speak, for example, their vocal folds open and close only 150 times, but for women their vocal folds open and close, they vibrate يعني about 300 times, almost the double. Let's look. Of course, if you are excited, your vocal folds will vibrate more and more, and the pitch of your voice, طبقة الصوت بتاعتك بتتغير لأن the pitch of your voice is determined by by many things. One of them is the shape of your vocal folds, and whether they are tall or short, whether they are thin or thick, and so on. And لأن thick vocal folds vibrate slowly, فعشان كده بيبقى الصوت deep رخيم. لكن thin vocal folds vibrate rapidly، عشان كده the sound is what is high pitched، طبقته بتبقى عالية يعني رفيع مش تخين. تمام. head versus ده بقى جديدة، head versus chest voice. عندنا نوع من voice، head voice and versus chest voice. ايه الفرق ما بين الهيد voice و chest voice؟ of course they sound weird, but take it easy. Head voice is usually high in pitch, timbre and intensity. Head voice يعني صوت كده بنعمله من الحنجرة بتاعتنا فوق، ونبقى we say it when we are excited and we don't have control on our voice، فبيبقى صوتنا كده صوت عالي والintensity بتاعته loudness بتاعته عالية قوي. طيب this why you feel the vibration in your head، فتلاقي دماغك يوجعك. your voice is resonating in your head كده when you speak loudly and you do not have control on your pitch, and it is symbolic of strong emotions. For example, when you are excited, embarrassed, you are angry, you are happy, you are surprised, you are afraid and scared, and all these things. كل ما بتجيلك these strong emotions بتلاقي نفسك انت you lose control on your voice, and your voice start to have high pitch. يبقى طبقته عالية, and this means that it resounds. يبدأ يعني يرن كده in your head. عشان كده بنسميه head voice. Okay. Chest voice on the other hand is low pitched, وصوت كده رخيم وطبقته واطية, and the vibrations are felt in the chest. You can feel because you have control. انت مسيطر على صوتك. You have control on your chest. This way the vibrations you not feel in your head. No, you feel the vibrations in your chest. Okay, in a study on how much our voice tells us about our personality and the mental image people construct for us, طبعا اتفقنا ان our voice makes people make instant guesses about us, about our personality, and they construct a mental image to us. Participants listen to 100 versions of the French greeting bonjour and were asked to guess what each version tells about the speaker. سمعوا الناس 100 مرة كلمة bonjour بين ناس كتير, يعني بأشخاص كتير قالوها, وقالوا إن ال high pitched voice bonjour indicates that the speaker is approachable and trustworthy, while low pitched voice اللي بيستخدموا الناس اللي قالوا bonjour مع low pitched voice, this indicates dominance and control. طبعا الناس اللي هم كده have dominance and control, and they ناس تقيلة زي ما بيقولوا كده, فهم they know how to use their voice and use their deep voice in order to influence people. And that's why politicians have deeper voices and they know how to use their voice. The impact ايه بقى اثر ال deep voice؟ قال لك going along with the previous distinction, studies and public opinion surveys indicate that a deep voice implies strength. الصوت بقى العميق ده بيدي إيحاء بإن فيه the speaker is strong, the speaker is dominant, and also masculinity. Consequently, people are more likely to vote for political candidates who have deeper voices. فالwomen, as we know, they are naturally having a higher pitched voice. صوتهم الطبقة بتاعتهم عالية وصوتهم رفيع. Given that fact, the vocal folds are shorter, لأن ال vocal folds بتاعتهم are shorter and thinner than men. It's no surprise that we find fewer people elected in high profile positions. You understand? Studies also show that women with deeper voices were perceived to be stronger and more trustworthy. لقوا برضو ان الستات حتى اللي لهم هم طول women بقى اللي عندهم deeper voices والكلام ده, لان هم بيتمتعوا بنفس الخصائص, انهم يدي impression انهم they have strong personality and they are dominant and they are authoritative and so on. That's why that was exactly that encouraged Margaret Thatcher to have voice coaching. الست دي بقى the prime minister, the former prime minister of Britain, she was a professor of physics, and when she got into politics, she decided to have voice coaching in order to know how to use her voice and how to produce deeper, fuller, persuasive and authoritative voice. Women's voice from cultural perspective, احنا عارفين ان بقى ان symbolic meaning of the feminine voice across culture has intrigued philosophers and psychologists and anthropologists for so long. The feminine voice is considered a sign of beauty in many civilizations. بعض الحضارات والثقافات تعتبر ان women's voice ده حاجة جميلة خالص and it's a sign of beauty, while in other women were forbidden to have free interactions as their voices might be a temptation. Some people or some culture consider women's voice as a stigma, aura, and so on. Accordingly, women were left chained to home and their default place. Public and political work is usually regarded to be only for men. I think that women's politicians' prospects for success are not determined by their voices. Alternatively, women are largely the victims of unfitting the stereotype ideology. Okay. tone of voice and parenting دي برضو حاجة جميلة. برضو هنا بقول لنا في دراسة كده conducted at Cardiff University in Britain. in Wales in particular, لقوا إن parents who use supportive tones are more convincing than their counterparts who are controlling or use controlling tones. Teenagers obey mothers speaking in a low warm pitch. الأمهات اللي بتتكلم in a low warm pitch لو إن their children and their kids obey them. They carry out the requested tasks such as doing homework, waking up early, and keeping their rooms tidy. Okay. On the other hand, parents who use high pitch and aggressive tones and so on, their kids do not obey them that much. Okay. We have a conclusion here. If parents want conversation with their teens to have the most benefit, it's important to remember to use supportive tones of voice, said one of the authors. Okay. And let me finally end this chapter, introduction chapter, by this, that when we speak and people hear us, they take less than a second to make guesses about who we are, really. less than a second, يعني أقل من ثانية يبدأوا to make guesses about who we are, our age, education, social status, world experience, trustworthiness, personal traits, well-being, sensitivities, beliefs, ideas, and so on, biases, and so on. They construct a mental image on us. Or for us. They also make judgment about us whether they appeal or whether we appeal to them or not. So it's very important to know how to say and how to speak and how to play that incredible instrument, which is our voice, the best way possible. And here's the exercise. It includes a number of questions. And here I'm talking about phonetic transcription, which is used by voice coaches, which help people to speak language or pronounce correctly and comfortably and so on. And I ask you to have a look at the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is the alphabet, the symbols اللي عبارة عن إيه دي بقى symbols that represent the sounds of all human languages, whether they are consonants or vowels زي ما احنا شايفين كده. وبعدين عندنا دي بقى the symbols of the English language, representing the vowels and the consonants of the English language, the vowels, the diphthongs, and also the consonants. Now I want you to attempt a phonemic transcription of the following text and read it first, read it aloud, and then examine the transcription closely. And word stress, you will find out that you used to pronounce many words inaccurately or the way they should be pronounced. This is a text that I have got from one of my articles. This is an article entitled Scaring the Horses. It's published in the Egyptian Mail in April 2019. Please get this text or this passage and transcribe it and mark stress in order to refresh your memory and to be more familiar with the English transcription and see how things go, and wish you all the best, and thank God, thank you. Bye bye.